tab. All right. Can you see my screen? All right. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. At the end, we'll answer any questions. And at the end, you'll have an opportunity to come off of mute if you have a question that you don't want to put in the chat. So this is our August meeting for Evaluation Configurators. I'm glad to have you all here. This is our educator effectiveness team. I want to kind of introduce all of us to you. I'm Amy Floyd, in case you don't know, if you're new. If you're new, Configurator, we are certainly glad to have you. I'm the Director of Data and District Support. I do work with TN Compass and evaluation data, and then I do also strategic compensation, which involves differentiated pay, vacancy data, and educator diversity. My Senior Director, Martha Moore, is here. You all probably know her. Tracy Riddle is our Director of Educator Effectiveness. If you work with any of the alternative growth measures, I'm sure you've met her. Micah Fager is our Director of Team Training and Support. She does all of the administrator training for evaluation training for administrators and teachers. She also takes care of our website and tries to keep us all on track. Sarah Brown, I don't believe Sarah's with us today. She does all of our recognition. We have 8 recognition programs that Sarah oversees. If you need any information about those, please reach out to Team Questions. We will get you in contact with Sarah. We want to be sure that every district is included in our educator recognition programs. And we do have a vacant position, which is team contractors. We hope to have that filled soon. So today we're going to be working in 2 different school years. We're going to talk about the 23-24 evaluation data, thinking about trying to wind that up, and then we're going to begin talking about our 24-25 cycle, talking about growth and achievement measures, selections, and sharing resources. So first, we want to think about last year's evaluation cycle and the data that we need in TN Compass for teachers to generate LOEs later this fall. So each educator in TN Compass must have the 3 evaluation component scores in TN Compass. So they need an observation score, an achievement measure score, and a growth measure score. To check for missing scores or missing score selections, you're going to want to use the evaluation scores by educator report from TN Compass and filter to column W to remove PYEs. That's the first thing I do, is take out the PYEs. If not, you're going to see people who don't have any measures, and it causes a little anxiety when you see that. So after you filter out column W for the PYEs, you can use columns AG and AH to check for missing observation scores. The majority of your scores should be in column AG. Occasionally one will get over in AH. But any teacher who does not have an observation score, you need to check on that teacher to see why they do not have an observation score. At this point, you cannot enter observations. If they have not already been put in and scored, you cannot enter. If you find a teacher that is missing one, that didn't get something finished, you need to reach out to Team Questions and we can work through, if you have that information, to get it in. But it's going to be a little bit of a process to get that done. To look for achievement measure information, you're going to use columns AK through AQ. There's a lot of achievement measure information in there. AK tells us our achievement measure category. If somebody doesn't have a category, it means they're not going to have an achievement measure type in column AL. Those need to be corrected. Every teacher must have an achievement measure selection in TN Compass in order to generate an LOE. You need to put the criteria there for how that score is determined. Some of you may have already started entering some of your off-the-shelf measure scores. You can see from this example, this district has already entered graduation rate for a couple of teachers and some off-the-shelf measures for 2 teachers. You'll notice that the TVIS measure, school-wide composite for an achievement measure, does not have a score. You will not enter a TVIS score in TN Compass. Those are automatically entered. The timeline for entering off-the-shelf achievement measure scores is August the 30th, 2024. Please be sure that you get all of your off-the-shelf measures in there as soon as possible. You have till the end of the month to get those in, and we'll be looking at the end of the month to see if people are still missing scores, and you'll probably hear from me if you're missing a number. The deadline for entering other achievement measure scores, such as graduation rate, ACT, these are the lagging scores, is October 18th. If you don't have these scores on October the 18th, do not panic. We understand that those scores come from the accountability team, and we will make arrangements. We'll make exceptions for those. Evaluation scores by educator report. You can also check column AR to look for missing growth measure scores. All teachers must have a school-wide or an LEA-wide composite score listed, even if you expect them to generate a score from TVIS, an alternative growth measure portfolio, or the alternative growth measure from the Universal Reading Screener. Everybody needs this. This is a backup measure in case one of those, something drastic happens with one of those measures. To upload missing scores, go to the import wizard on the administration tab in TN Compass. You click under you're going to use the growth and achievement measures to enter your achievement measure selections that are missing. Make sure that you change the academic year back to 23-24. You click continue. It will take you to the page where you can download your report. You can either download it district level or you can download it school level, whichever way you need it. You click generate the template. It'll download the template. You fill that out. You come back to this spot and you will click the I already have a template, and just upload that template. To upload missing scores, you again go to the administration tab in the import wizard, and you use the evaluation component scores template. If you're uploading scores for 23-24, and make sure you've got the right academic year, you click continue. You see the same thing. You generate your template as needed, and then you put your scores in. You come back here and you click I already have a template and upload that and follow the directions. Resources for importing measure selections are on the TN Compass website. They are on under the TN Compass tab. They're on the team website. I'm sorry. They're under the TN Compass tab. The quick resource guides, the growth and achievement selection import, the very first one highlighted there, that gives you step-by-step instructions for importing these selections. It is strictly a step-by-step. All of those quick start guides. I'm sorry. Okay. All of those quick guides are step-by-step directions. They are very useful just for a quick, how do I do this? And then in our user guides underneath, the TN Compass Evaluation Data Management Guide will also walk you through that. It just gives you a little more information. And the Achievement and Growth Measure Selection User Guide gives you even additional information. So we're going to switch gears now, and we're going to go to 24-25 evaluation data. So we're thinking about this school year that has just opened. First of all, the evaluation composite weightings have not changed from last year. You can find this information on the team website under statute and policy. You can see the last 3 years if you want to compare them. Tested teachers implementing student growth portfolios, and teachers implementing State Board Universal Reading Screener will have their LOEs calculated at 40% observation, 35% growth, and 25% achievement. Non-tested teachers will have 70% observation, 15% achievement, 15% growth, and our administrators have not changed either. 50% observation, 15% achievement, and 35% growth. This is for 24-25. It is the exact same for 23-24. And the 23-24 composite weightings can be found on this page also. So we're going to think about growth measure selections. Every teacher must have a growth measure selection in TN Compass. For most educators, this will be a school level TVOS composite. A custom feeder option is available for teachers in schools that do not generate their own growth measures. So if you have a K-2 school, they will not generate their own school-wide growth. Teachers in that school will take a school-wide composite from the feeder school, which is the school where most of those second graders will attend third grade. The measures should align as closely as possible to what the teacher is teaching. Teachers staffed in multiple schools may choose a district measure. Some districts have people that are staffed in 4 or 5 schools. Those teachers should use a district measure. If they're staffed in 2 schools, it's fine to click to choose one of the schools. Resources are on the team website under the Growth Measures tab. This is the current way the tab looks. You see it says 23-24. Pending the state board approval of our updated resources, they will be on the team website by August the 19th. That is Monday. The state board meets tomorrow and should approve our resources upon their final reading. We will have them up as soon as possible. Growth measure. Teachers who are anticipated to have an individual growth score from TVOS, Student Growth Portfolio, or the State Board Approved Universal Reading Screener must have a school level or a district level composite in TN Compass. This will only be used if the teacher's score does not generate for some reason other than an incomplete portfolio or an incomplete URS score. If something statewide happens and those scores don't generate, then the teacher will revert back to the school level or district level composite. Achievement measure selections. Every educator must have an achievement measure selection in TN Compass. They are grouped into state assessments, off-the-shelf assessments, TVOS composites, graduation rate, ACT and SAT assessments, early post-secondary exams, and industry certs. These measures should also align as close to possible as what the educator teaches, and the criteria must be set when the selection is made. It is important to set that criteria when you make the selection so that when it's time to calculate the score, you know how to determine the score. The resources for achievement, again, these are not approved at this point, so we do not have the 25 resources up. They will be on the website on or before August the 19th. This is a snippet of the achievement measure selections worksheet. I just want to show you this. First of all, this is an optional document for you to use. This has been around for a long time. I know when I first started in the district with evaluations, we did not have this. And I remember when the state developed this and it was useful. So this is a resource. It is not a requirement. But the only change other than selections that we made here, we made this change based on feedback from you all, is that we noted in the growth measure selection box that they must be chosen by all educators, but only used if no individual growth score is generated. We got questions about that. I know you all got lots of questions about that. So we put this in here to kind of clarify that on the front end for your teachers. All of our achievement measures were reviewed for use and alignment to state standards last year. If the measures were not aligned, they have been removed. We have a group of assessments that were removed for lack of use. These that were on there have not been used by educators in the last few years. We have others that were removed based on the content review by content experts with the department, that they are not aligned to our state standards. Best practices would be for your building level administrators to keep a copy of that worksheet if they choose to use it, and list the specifics of the measure selected. So if the measure selection is TCAP 3A, ELA success rate, be specific about the grade and the level of the measure. Is it the success rate for the third grade, or is it just is it the school level? Is it just for that teacher's classroom? Be very specific about how that is so that at the end of the year you will know. And also be specific about how you will measure it. You know, like what score are you going to use? Is it the percentage of students scoring at a certain rate? Is it the percentage of students projected to score depending on the assessment? Which test is it going to be from? Are you using, if you're using like Ames Web, is it the first, second, or third administration? Be very specific about that. And make sure the score can be easily calculated. In the spring, when you start doing all these scores, you don't want a very complicated calculation to have to try to figure. If it's not something that's really easy and something that you're going to remember, put the formula that you're thinking of using in that worksheet. I know personally, if I did these now, when I got ready to calculate these scores, if all I had was Ames Web, I would have no idea what we selected. And I'm willing to bet that the teachers won't remember either. So just put as much information as you can on those worksheets just to help you out when you start doing your scores. Resources. The team website is probably our most valuable resource to you, aside from us, of course. We have lots of different areas. It's organized so that it should be easy to find. Office hours tab is there, and that's where our recordings will be. The team timeline is on the front, on the home page. It's under upcoming deadlines. I have a copy that I keep just to remember when things are supposed to be done. There are also resources linked in this. So if you're looking at it on your computer, you can click and find the information for team training. So it is a very valuable resource that we have. Our email support. These 4 emails that are listed here, we answer those. Somebody on this team answers these questions. We all have a hand in team questions. Those are for Team Compass questions regarding observations, growth measures, TVOS, the alternative growth measure, universal reading screener, achievement measures, evaluation training. Portfolio questions answers everything to do with portfolio. Roster verification is where you can get assistance with TVOS roster verification that will be done again this spring. And then the compensation questions is for districts that differentiate pay plans and vacancy data collections. These are other state email support. Educator licensure is one that's probably very important to you. That's for licensure questions, PDP points, experience, and that kind of stuff. We get a lot of licensure questions and team questions, which we don't mind. Just understand that we don't answer those, and we have to forward those to educator licensure, which will delay your response time. TASL information for anything about the TASL programs, universal reading screener for the test administration, reporting, scoring, all of that. Those universal reading screeners for the alternative growth measure, we just get those scores. And then TN Ed assessments is for anything with assessments. Your next steps are to share resources with your building level administrators, provide support to principals on measure selections, upload missing measure selections and scores into TN Compass for 23-24. And these are the dates for our upcoming office hours. Some of our topics may be adjusted as needed according to times, what's happening during that time. And always team questions is a great support for you. Thank you for coming.
We have just a few questions in the chat, Amy. Do they enter grad rate, or is that imported?
You have to enter grad rate. The only score that is imported would be a TVOS score.
And can you clarify what needs to go into the criteria boxes?
So you're determining what's a level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 based on that measure. So the criteria is the level 3, do you expect a level 3 to be 75% proficient, a level 4, 80% proficient, and so on, or however you're setting up that criteria to determine those levels.
Can I chime in? That was my question, Amelia.
Absolutely.
And team. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
What selection do we make? So if we're choosing school-wide and TCAP, that should be filled out. That is given to us, that score, correct?
Your TCAP scores, you will have to put
Sorry,
that score in.
For growth or achievement measures.
For TVOS scores, so your growth, TVOS composites, those are automatically entered for you. You don't need a criteria for those. But if you're using state assessments, excuse me, that is, you're looking at the percent of students who met or exceeded expectations. So those scores you do have to put in. We do not import those scores.
Okay, thank you.
So set your criteria for a 3. A 3 should be basically what the percent of students that met and exceeded expectations last year, a range around that. And then scaling up, that score increases, scaling down, it decreases.
Got it.
There is a resource on the team website, on the achievement measures page about scaling.
Great.
When should grad rates be available?
Check with your district data people. That comes from accountability. It is a lagging measure. I honestly am not certain if you have that yet. But check with your data people in your district. I know they've been doing appeals for that. I'm not certain if those are closed or not.
That's all the questions we have in the chat right now. So if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. Oh, here we've got one. When are growth scores expected again?
Growth scores, portfolio, alternative growth scores for portfolio are in T and Compass now. You can see, your teachers can see those. TVOS scores will be later this fall. Our alternative growth measure scores, we do not have an estimated date on those. They will be sometime later this fall. Well, and I just want to clarify one thing about the growth scores. I've had a question this morning, and I figured this was going to come up. TVOS released some data on their website, and it's grade level and subject level data. Those are not teacher composites. Those are not school composites. Those are not teacher composites. And I caution people to not try to figure what those composites are going to be based on that. I know teachers are going to do it, but it is a totally different calculation. And this is just the very first look at that data. It's for informational purposes only and for planning purposes for teachers.
Were any updates made to growth or achievement selections?
Not growth. Achievement selections, there were some. I had a slide in here about what was removed. Some of the off-the-shelf achievement measure selections were removed due to lack of use, or they were no longer aligned.
And again, this will be posted on the team website. I dropped the link in the chat to the office hours tab.
And we'll get the office hours, we'll get the
slide deck.
Okay. Yeah, the slide deck. Thank you, Micah. We'll get that up later today, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Were the only changes to the team rubrics the inclusion of HQIM? I want to make sure I wasn't missing anything. Correct. The only changes to the team rubric was the HQIM. Some teachers have selected growth or achievement measures that are school-wide, like grades 3 through 8, success rate, or school-wide TCAP composite 4 through 8. How do I determine what to enter for selections like those?
The TCAP, the school-wide TCAP composite 4.8, that would be a TVOS composite. You don't have to enter that. The success rate, Sarah, this is your first year with scores. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk offline about how you can do that. If you'll send me an email, we'll set up a time to talk.
Can you explain the difference in a teacher TVAS score and the school score if the teacher is the only teacher for that grade and subject?
The teacher composite takes into account instructional availability, instructional time, all of those things. This that has just been released, it takes into all the background information of each individual kid. This is just what has just been released is just your grade and subject level information. It may align, it may not. I would not guarantee that it's going to align or not.
That's all we have in the chat right now. Does anybody else have any more questions? So we always enter achievement scores?
That is
That's a question.
correct.
Yes.
If you're using TCAP scores, if you're using your percent met and exceeded on TCAP, yes, you will always enter those.
Who should I work with on securing support to close out 23-24 for our new LEA?
Leanne, that's going to be Shelby County. The Shelby County, since those teachers were technically Shelby County school teachers last year, they will have to input all the information for you. Right. I appreciate you coming. Please reach out with any questions or anything you need. We are happy to support you.